So firstly, you're going to stick your stick and stitch pattern into the centre of your garment. Now to start off with, we're going to embroider the little teddy bear's face. Now for the outline of the bear's face, we're going to use stem stitch. So I've poked the needle through the fabric and left a little tail there. I'm bringing the needle forward along the line 1 stitch length ahead, and I'm pulling the yarn but not all the way through, so I'm leaving a little loop. I'm holding this loop to the side and bringing the needle back through the centre of the previous stitch, and then we're going to pull it taut and then insert the needle a stitch length ahead. Again, you're going to pull it not all the way through, so leaving that little loop, hold that loop to the side and bring the needle through the centre of the previous stitch again. Now what's important is to make sure that every time you're holding that yarn to the side, you always hold it in the same direction. And what you're going to see is the yarn's just going to twist together, forming like a 3D rope effect, which is a really lovely outline for your shape. And you're just going to continue using this same stitch all around the outline of the bear. Now we're just going around the ears here, so again, every time holding the yarn in that same direction. Now when you're cutting a corner quite finely, what I've done is I've finished the line and I'm bringing the needle slightly behind that last stitch when I'm changing direction to do the ears. And then pulling it through, holding that little loop just slightly out the way, bringing the needle through the centre of the last stitch and pulling it taut again. And then you just continue all around the outline until the final stitches come and meet those where we started. Now once you've completed the outline of the shape, next up we're going to fill the bear. And to do this, I'm just using a series of long and short stitches. So individual straight stitches, but at all different lengths. This just creates a really lovely textured feel. So I'm just putting the stitches next to each other as close as I can so you can't see any of the paper coming through, but at all different lengths. And what you want to avoid is the needle going down in the same hole twice, because then that hole will just get a little bit bigger and you'll be able to see gaps in the fabric. So just all different length, weaving those stitches in between one another. And as you can see here, the stitches are just following the direction of the stitches on the garment, so all in a vertical way. And what I've done is I've left a little gap for where I'm going to be filling the ears, and I leave a gap for the nose and the eyes as well. And you can see that I've changed direction with the ears and just curved those stitches around. It's a little bit of a time-consuming process, but it looks really good. As you can see here, it's great for animals, and that lovely little textured effect is really, really good for the fur. So an easy stitch to do, but just a little bit of a time-consuming one. And you're just going to continue small individual stitches until the whole of the shape has been filled. And to tie off any loose bits of yarn, I'm just going through and finding any tails that I've got left over and weaving them in between stitches on the reverse of the garment. Next up, you're going to take your beige yarn, leaving a little tail as such here to fill in the ears. I'm just using Satin stitch. So the needle's coming up the one side of the shape, so this little tiny circle here, then through the other side, making sure the stitches are touching one another. So it should just be 3 or 4 really small straight stitches to fill the gap in between the ears here. And once you've done both ears, we're going to do the nose. So I'm leaving the little bit in the middle, but we'll do black at the end. Using the same colour as you did for the ears. I'm just using individual straight stitches again, but I'm doing these in kind of a circular fashion. So I'm bringing it in through the middle and then out to the edge of the shape. And you're going to do this all the way around. So into the middle and then out to the edge. Just fanning those stitches out, and you're going to do that around the whole length of the circle. Then, just as you can see here, each of those stitches, you're just following the same pattern. So in through the middle, just where the little nose would be, and then out to the edge, through the middle, out to the edge, and then that's finished. And we tied that off the same way as we have done with the ears. And then we're going to add the eyes with just a really thin black yarn that's included in your pack. Again, satin stitch, so it would just be 3 or 4 little straight stitches to fill both of the eyes. And then finally for the bear, we're going to do the nose in the same black that we used for the eyes. So just leaving that little triangle shape. First of all, I'm going to go around the outline of that triangle in black with just some little individual straight stitches. Then once you've done that, you're just going to fill the little triangle with a few more straight stitches. Again, it should only need 2 or 3 stitches for that small shape to be filled. And once the nose is complete, you're then just going to do a couple more little individual stitches in the shape of the mouth, and you're just bringing that black yarn over the top of the beige yarn that you've used to fill in the little patch on the face. Now once the bear's finished, we're going to use chain stitch for the letters. So you're bringing the needle through the fabric, bringing it a stitch length forward, and you're hooking the yarn over. So putting it in the same hole, bringing it a stitch length forward and hooking the yarn over. So you can see here I'm holding the yarn to the side with my non-needle hand. Stitch length forward, and then because I'm holding it to the side, it hooks over really easily, just creating a little loop of the chain. And you should be able to do the N and the E in one continuous stitch, joining the 2 letters together. So you just continue till the end of the chain. Once you've done your final stitch, you're just going to poke the needle through to the reverse of the fabric with a small little stitch anchoring it into place. And there you have it. And now to get rid of any little tails of yarn on the back of the garment, we're just threading the yarn through the reverse of the chain stitch. Finally, you just want to run your garment under water to dissolve any of the backing paper.